Hi, this is Alex from Journey to Med, and today's lesson is going to be about Introduction to Biology concerning the cell. So here is our lesson overview. We're going to start with what is the cell? Then we're going to go on to organelles, specifically the nucleus, cell membrane, and cytoplasm. Then the difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, and what similarities and differences plant and animal cells hold. And then at the end, we're going to do a practice problem and leave you off with some homework questions. What is a cell? Cells are the building blocks of life itself. Cells are the most basic unit of life that allows for an organism to live and function. Every living organism, from ants to elephants, are made up of cells. Here are some fun facts. The human body is made up of trillions of different cells. Each cell has a different function, and no two cells are the same. And they are responsible for the structure of the body and transport nutrients, along with converting nutrients into usable energy, which we call ATP. Organelles. Organelles are the structures within the cell that perform certain tasks in order to keep the cell alive. Even though all cells are different from one another, the term generalized cell was coined, and it contains features from a wide variety of cell types. Every cell contains the same three parts: the nucleus, the cell membrane, and cytoplasm. By every cell, I mean eukaryotic cells. On the bottom right, you can see a diagram of different organelles, and we'll go further into that in a little bit. So the nucleus. The nucleus is the center of the cell, where genetic material is stored, and is often referred to as the control center of the cell, because the cell cannot function without it. The nucleolus is a dense region of genetic material inside of the nucleus, and is also the site of ribosome formation. Ribosome formation is when ribosomal proteins enter the nucleolus and combine with RNA strands that create two ribosomal subunits that will eventually make up the completed ribosome. The nucleus is responsible for necessary cell function and the basic structure of the cell itself. At the bottom there, you can see a little diagram that zooms into the nucleus and shows the nucleolus, along with the nuclear pores and chromatin. The cell membrane. The cell membrane is responsible for separating the material outside of the cell and the material that lies within the cell. These regions are called the extra and intercellular regions. The cell membrane maintains the integrity of the cell, and it controls the passage of materials out and into the cell. It is made up of a double layer of phospholipids, which are lipids made up of two fatty acid tails and a phosphate head group. You can see that at the bottom where it highlights the polar head and non-polar tails. Proteins within the membrane provide structural support, act as receptors, create channels for passage of material, and provide identification. The cell membrane is actually responsible for keeping out things like viruses and bacteria, which can harm the cell. Next, the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a gel-like substance inside of the cell. It is the medium for chemical reactions that occur within the cell every second. The cytoplasm provides a platform for other organelles that are present in the cell. A variety of different functions, such as cell expansion, growth, and replications, take place within the cytoplasm. Materials within the cytoplasm move through diffusion. Diffusion is essentially where material moves from high-density regions to low-density regions without the use of ATP, though it cannot move very far. At the bottom, you can see a diagram, and the blue highlighted area in the middle is the cytoplasm, and the little figures within that are the organelles. Here are some other organelles. There are a variety of cytoplasmic organelles that are suspended within the cytoplasm of a cell. They're responsible They are specific to the cell that they reside in. Each organelle has a specific function in order to keep the cell alive and ensure that it functions the way it is designed to. Examples of these organelles are the mitochondrion, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, etc. Next, we're going to cover eukaryotic versus prokaryotic cells. All living organisms can be sorted into one of the two different types of cells. This depends on their fundamental structure. These groups are called eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Eukaryotes are organisms made up of cells that possess membrane-bound nuclei that hold genetic information and membrane-bound organelles. Prokaryotes, on the other hand, are made up of cells that lack a cell nucleus, or any other membrane-bound organelles. At the bottom right, you can see a little diagram, and at the top of that, there's the prokaryotic cell, and the example of that is the bacteria, and it does not hold a nucleus, but it does have a cell wall, cytoplasm, plasma membrane, a nucleoid instead of a nucleus, and villi, which are its little tails, and the flagella, which is its tail. At the bottom right, you have a eukaryotic cell, which in this case is an animal cell. We have the cytoskeleton, plasma membrane, endoplasmic reticulum, vesicle, the Golgi apparatus, the nucleolus, and finally the nucleus. Next up, we have plant versus animal cells, and this is the similarities. Plant and animal cells are both eukaryotic, though where they differ is their shape and function. Both types of cells possess a nucleus that is separated from one another using a cellular structure by a nuclear membrane. They have similar processes when it comes to reproduction, mitosis and meiosis. Both utilize cellular respiration and contain organelles. The organelles that they share are the nucleus, the endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, mitochondria, peroxisomes, Golgi complex, cytoskeleton, and finally, the cell membrane. So here are some differences. When it comes to length, the plant cells tend to be 10 to 100 micrometers, while animal cells tend to be 10 to 30 micrometers on the smaller range. When it comes to shape, animal cells are round or regular and different from one another, while plant cells are more similar in size and geometric. Energy storage. When it comes to energy storage, animal cells store energy as complex carbohydrates, while plant cells store energy as starch. When it comes to differentiation, animal cells use stem cells that convert to other cell types, while plant cells are capable of differentiating without the use of stem cells. When it comes to the organelles, there's a few more differences. Animal cells have a cell membrane, while plant cells have a cell wall composed of cellulose as well as a cell membrane. The cell wall provides tensile strength and protection against mechanical and osmotic stress. It also allows cells to develop something called turgor pressure, which is called swelling. Animal cells contain centrioles, which are cylindrical structures responsible for organizing the assembly of microtubules during cell division. Animal cells tend to contain cilia, which is slender hair-like organelles, mainly responsible for cell movement, while plant cells do not. Animal cells possess lysosomes, containing enzymes that digest cellular macromolecules, while plant cells have vacuoles to handle this process, one large central vacuole. Plant cells contain plastids, such as chloroplasts, which are needed for photosynthesis. And finally, animal cells have many small vacuoles, while plant cells contain one large central one that can take up to 90% of the cell's volume. So here is a practice problem. The question is, what is the purpose of cytoplasm within a cell? I recommend you pause the video here and try to figure out an answer of your own. And if you don't know, you can look back in the lesson. I'll give you a few seconds. Alright, I hope you took your time to try and solve that problem. The answer is, cytoplasm is a gel-like substance that is between the cell membrane and nuclear membrane within a cell. Its main purpose is to provide a platform for other organelles within the cell. A variety of functions such as cell expansion, growth, and replication take place within the cytoplasm of a cell. Here are some homework questions. These problems provide a further review of the cell and its components. If you get stuck, make sure to reference the previous subjects outlined in this lesson. The first question is, which of the following is an example of a plastid within a plant cell? Either A, ribosome, B, cytoplasm, C, the nucleus, or D, the chloroplast. Which of the following is not true? Either A, animal and plant cells tend to be different shapes. B, plant cells are usually larger than animal cells. C, plant cells do not have a nucleus. Or D, animal cells contain an organelle called cilia. Number 3, why was the term generalized cell created? And finally, number 4, what is the cell wall composed of within plant cells? And what is the cell wall's function? I hope you take your time to try and answer these questions, and I hope you enjoyed my lesson. Thank you.